Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be reviewing Donut Dodo for the Nintendo Switch. Now this is a game that is really trying to emulate the style of retro arcade games, and it just released on December 1st of 2022, and it currently sells on the US eShop for only $4.99. The game is published by Flynn's Arcade, however it was developed by Pixel Games, and it has a download size of 58 megabytes. Now, can Donut Dodo live up to the legacy of games like Donkey Kong or Burger Time? Well, that's what we're going to figure out in today's review. Now remember, if you are liking the content, one of the best ways to help support the channel, hit that like button. Now this being an arcade style game, there really is no storyline here, so we're jumping straight into the gameplay. In this game, you are playing as Baker Billy Burns, and you have one very simple and straightforward objective. Collect all the smaller donuts on the screen to unlock the bigger donut, and then snatch that away from the dodo. Now, although that sounds simple enough, standing in your way, however, is a bunch of different minions, obstacles, and traps. And just to be clear off the start, although it seems simple, this game is actually quite challenging. Now to complete this game, you have to make your way through the 5 different levels twice in a row, with the second time through the levels going at a faster pace and also adding in an extra enemy. And all this has to be done on your 3 initial lives with no continues. Now the game does give you a little helping hand, where every time you collect 15,000 points, it will give you one of your lives back. However, it remains that to complete a run, there isn't much room for error. And challenge-wise, that's not all the game has to offer, because if you do finally manage that double run through all the levels, well guess what? It unlocks a harder difficulty level, where basically your first run through is equivalent to the last one on the easier difficulty, and the second run through just goes even quicker, and the enemies spawn even faster. And if you do finally manage to beat that harder difficulty, it then unlocks speedrunner mode, which is only one playthrough of all 5 levels, however at maximum speed and aiming to do it as quick as possible with a timer at the top. Now the game is offering online leaderboards of both the speedrunning mode and also the other difficulties, meaning that if you're the competitive sort, you can have hours of fun here trying to make your way onto those boards that are actually quite competitive. And there's also another feature here that can actually help your gameplay or offer you another type of challenge, and that is once you start collecting the donuts, one will start to shine. If you collect only the shining donuts as they appear on screen, that will give you a combo bonus. And if you're hoping to make the top of those leaderboards one day, well, getting that combo bonus as fast as possible is your best way to get there. On a personal note, I tried to complete the game while only collecting that combo bonus, and it kicked up the difficulty level so high I just wasn't able to do it. And even the first difficulty mode, easy to medium, took me at least 2 to 3 hours of practice before I completed the double run. Now gameplay wise, I really did enjoy this game a lot. It combined 2 of my favorite classic games where the level designs reminded me a lot of Burger Time, but the movement, the ability to jump, reminded me a lot of Donkey Kong. And the way some enemies have to be baited, others jumped over, it reminded me a lot of the type of tactics you even use in Pac-Man. Overall, they were trying to create an original yet retro feeling arcade experience, and in my opinion, they totally delivered. Now if we take a few seconds to talk about the controls. Now the controls in this game are incredibly tight, and I would say at first it will require a little bit of adjustment, because if you're touching that diagonal whatsoever when you get near a ladder, you'll start climbing it even if that's not what you wanted. Basically, you can really tell that the control scheme here was done primarily with an arcade stick in mind. However, if you're using a really good D-pad, if you're careful, it'll work just fine. Now just to be clear, this isn't a complaint, rather just something to be aware of. Because if the controls weren't so tight, the gameplay actually wouldn't come together and the challenge would be even greater. However, for the first few runs, you might need some adaptation. Once again, a great feeling arcade style control scheme. Now if we move on to the graphics and sound. Now graphically speaking, the pixel art in this game, although simple, worked perfectly. I mean, they were setting out to create a game that felt retro. The color schemes, the designs, everything delivers on that front. The only thing I would have to mention on this front, and that comes from using such a retro style pixel art, is sometimes it was tough telling what was an actual obstacle and what was just part of the background. For example, the flaming barrels at the top of level 1, I was really under the impression you would not be able to touch them. However, they are really part of the background and there is no hitbox associated to them. The fire enemies do spawn from them, but you don't take damage if the fire enemy isn't present. However, still in my opinion, graphically something could have been done to make it clear that these barrels were part of the background. And there are a couple of other elements as you play through the game that put you in the same situation. So now if we move over to the sound. And in the sound department, I've got to tell you once again, in my opinion, this game knocks it out of the park. Now the track selection is small. However, at the same time, there are only 5 different levels throughout the gameplay, and each track really does feel distinct one from another, and nonetheless deliver a great retro arcade feeling experience. And I mentioned this earlier, but don't forget, all of this is being offered at only a $5 price point. So on the graphics and sound side, although not perfect, this game is offering a really great retro experience. Now we get to the verdict, and if this is the first time you're watching one of my reviews, just to let you know, my full review scale is available down below in the description of the video. And in the case of Donut Dodo on the Nintendo Switch, I'm going to be giving this game an 8, putting it at the low end of a great game. Now don't forget that price point is a huge part of the way I review my games. I really don't expect the same level of polish from a $5 game as I would from a $60 game. And I've really got to say, at only a $5 price point, aiming to deliver a retro feeling arcade experience, this game hits all the right notes. And if you're a fan of the classic arcade games like Burger Time, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Mappy, I definitely think you should give Donut Dodo a shot. It's simple, fun, yet challenging. However, at the same time, I couldn't give it any higher than an 8 just because of the low level variety. And I actually enjoyed the game so much that this is actually one that I'd like to see a sequel to, maybe with even more levels. So now I turn the question over to you. What did you think of Donut Dodo? And do you think you'll be picking it up? Let me know in the comments down below. And on the way out, don't forget that if you did like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell so you know when all my future content comes out. And as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video.